Today's guest is someone who has not just built wealth, but built meaning. Rob Khleif is a real estate investor, philanthropist, and the host of one of the top real estate podcasts in the world. He's owned thousands of properties, built massive success, lost it all, and came back stronger than ever. Rod, I'm so grateful to have you on the #Clockedin podcast. Where does your story begin? Because to make 50 million and lose, and then to make it back is a very challenging.
Well, it sucked. Okay, we'll start with that. But thanks for having me on the show, brother. Let's have some fun today. So I'm going to go way back because I think it'll lend some credibility to the story. So I'm a Dutch immigrant, okay? Think wooden shoes and windmills. And
Yeah.
I immigrated this country when I was 6 years old with my brother Albert and my mother's Vancia. And we ended up in Denver, Colorado. And I will tell you, we didn't have much. I grew up, we shopped at an expired food store. Believe it or not, they had it back then. We had powdered milk with our cereal in the morning because it was cheaper than real milk. And trust me, it sounds better than it is. And, I candidly wore clothes from the Goodwill and the Salvation Army, hand-me-down clothes all the way through junior high school till I lied about my age when I was 14 at Burger King. Told them I was 15 and got a job flipping burgers so I could buy my own clothes.
Wow.
Yeah. And, I know people had it harder than I did, maybe even have it harder now with all the craziness, but I knew I wanted more. And luckily my mom had an incredible work ethic, so she babysat kids so we'd have enough money to eat. And with her babysitting money, with no formal education, she was a bit of an entrepreneur, so she invested in the stock market successfully and also invested in real estate. Well, her first real estate acquisition was the house right across the street from us. She bought when I was about 14 for around 30 grand. I mean, that was exactly 30 grand. And then when I was 17, she told me she'd made $20,000 in her sleep. It'd gone up in value $20,000. And I'm like, what? You made 20, this was when 20 grand was a lot of money. It's 1977, okay? And you made 20 grand, you didn't do anything? Screw college, I'm getting into real estate. So I got into real estate. I got my real estate license, my broker's license actually, which you could do back then with education. I could have had my own office and I was smart enough to go work for somebody else. But and that ties into the story actually. So, my first year in real estate, I made about 8 grand. My second year, maybe 10 grand. But my third year, which was 1980, I made over $100,000, which back then was a lot of money. So what happened between year 2 and year 3 that caused me to 10x my income? Well, what happened was I met a guy, the guy I was working for, the broker I was working for, taught me about the importance of mindset and psychology and how really 80 to 90% of your success in anything is your mindset and psychology. Only 10 to 20% is the, technical stuff we talk about on our podcasts. And and it's the do and it's to keep freaking doing.
Yeah.
And so, fast forward to today, I've owned over 2,000 houses that I've rented long term. I own thousands of apartment units now. In 2006, my net worth went up $17 million while I slept.
Wow.
And that's what I said. Wow. And I got a head so big I could barely fit it through a freaking door. I thought I was a real estate god. And when that happens, God of the universe will give you a nice little smackdown.
Yeah.
Well, that was the 2008 thing you were talking about. I lost $50 million conservatively in 2008 and 9. And so, what I'm known for talking about is the mindset it took to have $50 million to lose in the first place. And maybe as important, at least, maybe even more important, is the mindset to recover from that to the success that I'm blessed to have today. And so, I'm happy to drill down on some of those strategies with you if you like.
Absolutely. I mean, I think first off, it's incredible that you had the awareness to know that your mom made money and you're like, she was working at this much wage and she was able to make $20,000.
Well, we always had a house full of kids, so she was babysitting kids, and we always had a house full of kids, and I don't think it was a legal daycare center, but who cares? But she was a really good person. But yeah, no, she inspired me, and it's kind of interesting. I had a boot camp in Denver, and had 1,000 people there. And they brought her in her wheelchair from assisted living. My brothers came.
I love that.
And I was behind the curtain crying like a little girl because she's the reason I got into real estate. So I met this guy. His name is Gino that I work for. I was dating his daughter, and he taught me about mindset and psychology. And since then, I spent 23 years with Tony Robbins, who's the best in the world at it. But yeah, if you'd like, I can discuss some of the strategies I use to recover, because they're the same strategies, if you're listening, you would use to get started, okay? And it starts with goals, okay?
Absolutely.
The first thing is goals. You got to know what the hell you want and why you want it, or you're not going to get anything, So one of the things I do, my boot camp, the first thing we do is a goal setting session on steroids, because again, how do you get anything if you don't know what it is?
Yeah.
And the importance of goals, it's really not about the goals. It's about the fact that they prompt you you to create a hunger. You need a hunger, or what Napoleon Hill in his book Think and Grow Rich calls a burning desire. You got to want it, and that's how you push through fear. That's how you push through limiting beliefs.
Yes, because
with the goals.
The bigger the vision for you, and it can pull you forward, and it's going to force you to make different decisions.
That's it. It pulls you into it. And in fact, one of the other things we do at my boot camps is we do an identity statement where I have people write their identity, what they hope to embody as an identity, because there's no greater force in the human psyche than the need to remain consistent with how we identify ourselves. So anything you put the words I am in front of is an identity statement, and people really get a lot out of that. But so yeah, it starts with goals. You got to know what it is you want and why you want it. And I do a goal setting session, most years the first of the year, and I've got one on my link tree. It's at rodslinks.com, and it's at the bottom there. I'm not going to try to sell you anything, but it's about an hour presentation. There's a guide you can download. And here's the thing, Jordan. People spend more time planning a freaking Christmas party than they do designing their lives. Doing your goals is designing your freaking life, okay?
I completely agree, because the biggest challenge here for a lot of us is that we just kind of wake up and we're not living on purpose.
That's it.
We're living behind. And that's why the whole podcast was called Clockedin, because I'm like, we should be working.
I love it.
Like, you got to be working towards your goals that you want to accomplish.
Or you'll never get them.
Yes.
So go to Rod's links, or if you're driving, text links to 72345 and go to the bottom of that. It's my goal setting workshop. And it doesn't, even if you're not interested in real estate, it will help you. Have your spouse do it. Have your kid, if they're over 10 years old, do it. Have them design their lives. It's incredibly powerful. You'll leave incredibly motivated.
The framework for anything is just understanding where we're at.
But also identifying what we want.
Yes.
Because otherwise we're going to stay where we're at.
Yeah.
Okay. So it starts with goals. Then the next piece is you got to make a decision.
Yeah.
And and I don't mean dip your toe in the water. I don't mean 1 foot in, 1 foot out. I mean it's done. Okay, you just decide. Like when I lost everything, the first thing I did was reassociate with my goals. I'm like, okay, I was hiding under a rock for a while with my eyeball poking out, feeling sorry for myself. But then I reassociated with my goals. Then I decided, okay, enough. Quit being a big puss. Get up and make something happen.
How did that feel when you started to realize that you were going from this 2006 to 2009? Where you're seeing the opportunity come, and then you're like, oh no, I've made a mistake.
I literally lost $50 million, dude. So it sucked. Okay, I thought I was set for life. Okay, I had 800 houses, I had several apartment complexes, and the whole thing imploded. But I lost it all, and so so like I said, I reassociated with what I wanted again. Okay, just after a few months, and then I made a decision. Okay, get off my ass and go make things happen again. I built a litigation support company it was a $10 million company with 60 employees that I sold a few years ago. But that's what I built out of the ashes of that. But that's the second piece. You got to make a decision. You got to decide that enough is enough, or if you're you've got to decide you want more out of life.
Yeah.
And the Latin root for the word decision means to cut off. Yeah. So a great example of metaphor for a decision would be if you're going to attack the island, you burn your ships because you're taking their damn ships home. That's a decision. It's done. Okay. Yeah. So then the next piece after a decision is you got to take that first step. Yeah. And, a lot of people get caught up in analysis paralysis, and those of you that are analytical that are listening, I love you. You know who you are. You also know how you have to check off every single box before you make a move. You can't get ahead doing that, okay? Dr. Martin Luther King said, you take that first step in faith, the next step will be revealed. You don't have to see the whole highway. You don't have to see the whole path, And so I'll tell you, those of you that struggle with this, just use the analogy of driving across the United States at night. You can make it. Other people have made it before you. Yeah, you may have some obstacles, but it can be done. It's the same way with this or any business you get into. But you got to take that first step. And so for me, it was, getting myself up, make a decision, and go kick ass. And I did. And again.
And it's the follow through too. A lot of us don't realize this, but we set the big goal. Like I was giving a presentation today, and we talked about North Star action steps, and then it's the accountability that you're actually going to show up and actually do that stuff.
Yeah, and that's one of the benefits of being in a group of people that are doing this. My warriors, my coaches, my coaching students. I'm going to brag for a minute. They own somewhere between 267,000 and 300,000 units under my tutelage, okay? That's just multifamily. They also own tons of senior housing, tons of student housing, tons of mobile home parks.
The funny thing is I was prepping for this podcast, right? So I looked at your different YouTubes. I found one from 2 years ago. It's like 150,000.
Oh, I know.
Find one from 10 months ago.
I
It's
know.
like 240,000.
It's
just
like there's a
that
closing
keeps compounding.
every day
Yeah.
in our Facebook group. It's unbelievable.
It's incredible.
No, it is incredible, and I get goosebumps thinking about it. It's kind of gotten a life of its own. But the key there is they do these deals together. Okay,
Yes.
so we did an analysis. My daughter, who works for me, did an analysis a couple months ago, and we discovered 98% of those deals were done between warriors, between students.
Wow.
So if it's real estate that you're interested in, you want to get around people that are doing what you're doing, people that think what you think is hard is easy, because a rising tide lifts all ships. And
Yeah.
you want to be around, and that's another piece. Peer group is super important. Let's talk about peers for a second. Because I'll tell you, you show me your 3 best friends, I'll show you who you are in every aspect of your life, your health, your happiness, definitely your finances. Okay.
Yeah.
And see, the sad reality, Jordan, is people spend their time with someone they went to school with or someone they work with. And those people, they may have their own fears and limiting beliefs. And I'll tell you, and I want to talk about fears and limiting beliefs in a second, but, they may hold you back because of their fears and their own limiting beliefs. And
it's going to show up in a very unique way where it's you do something different and it's like, Rod, what are you doing?
yeah, exactly. Oh yeah, or come have a beer. You don't want to work that hard.
You don't even realize that it's the limiting
No,
belief.
and it can be
comes up
love.
in
It can be love that's holding you back. Anyway, let me circle back to limiting beliefs for a second. So when I immigrated this country, and I have some props here to show you. When I immigrated this country, I got thrown into school. I found out what bullies were for the first time. And my mom thought it'd be a great idea to send me to school in these wooden shoes. These are actual freaking shoes. And these leather shorts that Germans wear for Oktoberfest. So I got my ass kicked just when I went in. And then, of course, this was like crack cocaine. So I got my ass kicked again, And then the bullies would chase me home from school, and she'd chase them off with a fly swatter. And so I'd get next day ass beaten. And I came up with this belief system that wasn't good enough.
Yes.
I used to ask myself, how can I make them think I'm good enough? A lot of people have these limiting beliefs, Jordan. I'm not good enough. I'm not smart enough. I'm not strong enough. I'm not analytical enough. That was another one of mine. I don't have enough time. I don't have enough money. Yeah. But see, here's the thing. There's a reason the acronym for belief systems is BS, because 99.9% of them are BS, but we believe they're real. Yeah. I used to be afraid to raise my hand in front of 10 kids in a classroom, fear of rejection. Now I speak in front of thousands and thousands of people a year in freaking flip-flops and shorts typically, but it took a while for me to get past that. And so here's the thing. If you're listening and you're aware of one of these limiting beliefs, sometimes you're not consciously aware, but if you're aware, when it pops up, drag it out into the daylight with your adult rational mind. Look at it, recognize that it's BS, because it is, and it'll dissipate over time. But you got to consciously pull it out in the daylight when it happens. Super important.
I love that, because it forces us to raise awareness to something that we might not even be thinking about.
Exactly. Yeah, and the key word is consciously. So that's limiting beliefs. And as it relates to fear, everybody has fear. The most successful people on the planet have fear, but they push through in spite of it. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So back to peer group for a minute. So when I was losing everything in 2008 and 9, I was in Tony Robbins' Platinum Partnership. It was a high-level mastermind. It was like $130,000 then. It's more than that now. And I was around people that were killing it in the crash. Yeah. I mean, and I was in there. It was 2008 and 9 when I was in that group. And they were killing it. They were thriving. And they're like, get up, you puss, 50 million schmillion. Go make something happen. Quit feeling sorry for yourself.
Yeah.
That's who you want to be around, right?
Yeah.
You want to be around a peer group that validates you and praises you and encourages you and holds you to a higher standard. And so get around people like that. That's one of the advantages of my warrior coaching program. But get in a group like that, and people that want more out of life. And I'll tell you, sometimes these naysayers are family.
Yeah.
And I'm going to tell you, love your family, but proactively choose your freaking peers. Yeah. Okay, super important. But the next piece I'll mention briefly is playing to your strengths. So many people feel like they have to build their weaknesses, but I got to tell you, your strengths are your greatest assets. Like in my space, I teach people how to buy commercial real estate, multifamily, and other asset classes, and there's lots of different hats you can wear. There's the person that finds the deals, the person that underwrites the deals, the asset management after you buy it, the person that finds the investors, deals with the brokers. There's lots of different hats. But you want to play to your strengths. Here's why. You're when you're playing to your strengths, you love what you do because it's something you're good at, right? Yeah. So you never work another day in your life. Also, you're passionate. And when you're passionate, you have the ability to influence people, okay? And influence is, it's required in any business. You have to influence people to invest with you, to partner with you, to work with you. And if you're passionate, they want to be around you.
Yeah.
So if you play to your strengths, you're going to be passionate. You have the ability to influence, and that passion breeds innovation, breeds creativity. If you hit a speed bump or you get your nose blooded, you get your ass kicked, you're able to push through it because you're still passionate about what you're doing.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you're not so attached to the outcome, but it's more about getting there along the way.
Yeah, well, you're enjoying it.
Yeah.
So so that's another big piece.
So I mean, for you, Rod, you talked about how you had different groups, different peers, different people.
Mentors and peers, yeah.
Is there anyone that really impacted your life? Because I know there's so many.
Tony, for sure. I mean, Tony Robbins, the best in the world at mindset and psychology. Huge impact in my life. And I was on his team for 8 years, followed him around the planet for 23 years, and just learned a ton from him. But I've had lots of mentors, and I've had dead mentors. I don't know if you saw my library here, but I've got thousands of books. Yeah. And so I've learned from that as well. And
well, I think you're bringing up such an important part, Rod, because what a lot of us don't realize is we think mentors have to be someone in our life.
Right.
And we're in a virtual age.
Right.
You probably have so many people that you have mentored who you've never met. And they just sit there and they go, Rod,
thousands, literally thousands. Yeah. I had 800 people registered this last weekend at a virtual boot camp. So, thousands. We've had, I think, 19,000 people attend my boot camp.
That's incredible. And let alone the people who just consume
without any complaints, by the way, except that the breaks are too short, or, if it's a live event that the food sucked and the room was too cold. But other than that, that's all they ever complain about.
Strategy,
right. That's all exactly. That's all they ever complain about. But and another piece of this that I'll bring up, I host the largest commercial real estate podcast really in the world.
The other big thing is, how'd you even get into that? Because
sure. Let me talk about that. Okay, I'll circle back to what I was just going to talk about. So how did I get into podcasting? Well, a good friend said, "Hey, you want to do a podcast?" I hadn't even heard of podcast, what they were. This was before they even really got started. Yeah. And he hosts a nice one. His name's Kevin Bupp. He's a very good friend of mine. Lives in Tampa, and he teaches, or did teach, how to buy mobile home parks. And I'm like, no, I'm not going to do that. I don't want to sit and talk into a mic, because they didn't even have video back then.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'll try it. And so I started the podcast. And I used to tell people, if you listen to my first few episodes, I'm never going to sell you anything. I just want to add value. I just wanted to add value. Now I'm a freaking liar, because I sell everything. But I never planned to. You want to make God laugh. You tell him your plans. But when I first started, I used to take free phone calls from listeners. So I'd carve out a few hours a week, and I'd take 30-minute phone calls, and I had hundreds of them. Yeah. And I was, I got asked all the time, can you teach me how to do this? Teach me. But I just said, I'm not going to sell you anything. I just want to add value if I can. Yeah. And in full disclosure, I got that idea from Kevin. Kevin did that as well, which really helped his ramp. But for a long time, I was the number one podcast in the world for business, number one for education. I was always number two for real estate, because that damn Bigger Pockets beat me out on real estate. But
so I want everyone, the audience, to realize this, that you were being a bricklayer before you actually.
Oh yeah, I didn't have any. I had no plan for it. Yeah,
people
no plan.
Don't realize that you have to lay the bricks before the time is actually there.
That's a very good analogy, brother. That's absolutely the case. Absolutely the case. And yeah, so I didn't have any plan for the podcast. Definitely didn't plan on teaching. My father was a PhD, a professor, and he taught. And unfortunately, he died before I started teaching, which is sad for me. But my mom got to see me. Like I said, I was crying behind the freaking stage. But anyway, So I started the podcast, and once I hit 1 million downloads, like, oh, maybe I better do something with this. I wrote a book. It was a bestseller in 3 categories. I give it away for free. Yeah. You can get the physical copy. You pay the shipping. It's like $6, and it cost me $30 to send it to you. Of course, it's a lead magnet. If you know what that means, I get your email, and I'll send you some stuff, and hopefully you'll get more involved with me. But yeah, and then then it just took off, and so I don't know, we're over 30 million downloads. I'm fairly certain at this point, and I mean, for my little niche, that's really good.
That's it. I mean, it's incredible, because what we don't realize is the whole reason I got into podcasting is because I was like, I want to build a legacy thing. Right. I want people to actually have something passed when the time comes. And then you also realize that you get to talk to incredible people like yourself.
Well, that's kind of you to say, and that's absolutely the case. I've interviewed some amazing people on my show, impactful people, and I met some amazing people, very, very wealthy people, and everything in between. But anyway, so one more thing I want to mention about, what was important to me was focus.
Yeah.
And, it was real easy for me to focus on losing $50 million. And I had to pivot that into focusing on what I wanted again. Okay. Yeah. And, whatever you focus on gets bigger, larger, both positive or negative. I'll get students call me and say, how do I get out of student loan debt? And I'm like, wrong freaking question. How do you make so much money that debt's irrelevant is the question, right? They asked Mother Teresa if she was anti-war. She said, no, I'm pro-peace. Yeah. I mean, you get it, right? And so I started, I really started paying attention to focus. And I listened to 2 podcasts. I listened to Joe Rogan and Tim Ferriss. I try to get both sides of the aisle. I'm definitely on one side. Yeah. And the side I'm not on is Tim Ferriss. But he has incredible conversations with some of the best of the people in the world at what they do. Yeah. Best athletes like Michael Phelps, swimmer, NBA, NFL players, billionaires like Ray Dalio, heads of the biggest companies like Zuckerberg, actors like Ed Norton, Hugh Jackman, Arnold, Jamie Foxx. And what he does, the conversation is very intellectual, and he deconstructs their success, okay? Yeah. And I started to hear a pattern in their success. They almost all meditate. What does meditation enhance? Focus, right? Yeah. I don't know about you, but I'll be sitting there watching Netflix, and I'll be scrolling through my stupid social media, which kills your freaking focus, okay? And so, focus is super important. So focus on what you want. That's why the goals are so important. If you do that goal setting session with me, and again, you come to one of my boot camps. I do a virtual boot camp every couple of months. I don't sell anything there, and you can come for freaking $47. So tell me your freaking excuse. 2 days of training for $47 with nothing being sold. But the first thing we do is goal setting, because you got to figure out what you want. That's it. That's first thing we do. And so I spend a lot of time on mindset. I mean, it's drinking through a fire hose when I teach, but that's why my students are so successful.
Even if it hits one thing for one person, that changes everything for them.
I get rave reviews. If you go to Rod's links, you'll see my boot camp site at the top. If you go all the way to the bottom, you will see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Facebook posts about my events. I mean, it's just the love I get. I get love every day.
So you focus so much on real estate throughout your career. What brought you into the media side? Because I feel like that's
it was a fluke. Again, I started that podcast just to add value. Truly, all I wanted to do was add value. I had no outcome for it at all. In fact, like I said, I used to say I'll never sell you anything. I never planned to, but I enjoyed it. I ended up enjoying it because it was audio, because it was also video. And when Kevin started, it was just audio. It was all audio. And once video started, hey, I'm visual. Okay, I need to see somebody. So we, it was all Zoom interviews. Well, it was before Zoom. It was Skype or whatever before Zoom, but it was all those interviews, and that got me going on it. And and I found out I enjoyed it because I was teaching, and I do love to teach. I didn't realize how much I love to teach, and now I do boot camps with 1,000 people.
Well, I think the other big thing for a lot of the audience to realize is that the frames of I'm a conventional teacher and I teach people real estate and I teach people mental health and I teach people these different things don't all have to step into the same frame.
Well, listen, we're coaches, okay? Of course. And a lot of people really don't understand the whole coaching dynamic. They're taught to go to school, go to college, and learn there. But the sad reality of it is most people don't use their degree for anything unless it's a technical role, like an architect, a dentist, a doctor, things like that. And then there's a sad reality that most people have a ton of student loan debt and hardly any money in the bank as well. And then there's the sad reality that people that teach business in a college have never owned a business. I mean, hello. If you're going to work out with somebody, do you want somebody buff or somebody fat? It's the same thing with a college professor.
It's super true. And what Rod's kind of alluding to is like your mentors, they should have success in the area that you want them to mentor you.
Thank you. But, this learning process is a lifelong thing.
Yes.
I've got this picture I show at my boot camps of me with my arms out, and I have hundreds of lanyards with tags from boot camps and war events and masterminds and expositions that I've gone to continue my education. Literally hundreds. I'm not exaggerating.
Wow.
And so if you're not growing and learning, you're dying.
Yes.
There's no plateau. If you're not growing, you're dying.
Yes.
And so, but
it's so important because there's so many of us that think that life is this path of get the job, get the degrees, get the thing.
They think it's go to college, get a job, and retire at 65 or whatever. I'm 65, by the way, just turned 65. Wow. And
incredible energy.
My dad, worked for Continental Airlines for 36 years. He used to tell me, you need to get a good job, get a pension. You know how much my mom got from his pension after he died? I think like $500 or $600 a month. That's how much his pension was. 36 years, and he worked there for 36 years and got laid off. I mean, there's no job security. Job security is between your freaking ears.
Yeah.
That's your job security.
I completely agree.
It's your ability to take action and learn and grow and push yourself out of comfort. A lot of people are in comfort, but they're not truly happy. They don't have time freedom, money freedom. They can't do whatever they want, whenever they want, wherever they want, with whoever they want. They can't do it.
I mean, most of the time they're always relying on someone. Oh, I'm going to get this promotion. I'm going to get this new job. I'm going to get this thing. And it's the big thing that I gave the presentation on, and even speaking to you, that I've realized and like I think is super important is that full accountability. That extreme ownership that Jocko talks about.
Listen. You need to be responsible for everything that happens to you, positive or negative.
Yes.
You own it. When you own it, it's actually freeing. Okay. Yeah. A lot of people avoid responsibility. They avoid accountability, and I totally agree. And that's why programs like mine or get around groups that will hold you accountable. That's what my Warrior program is so successful, because you're going to get praise, you're going to get validation, you're going to get rewarded for success, and if you need help, you'll get your ass kicked and get some help. Okay, that's how it works, and that's one of the benefits of being. So if you're listening and you want to get into doing something, get around people that are doing it. Go to meetup groups for real estate, for buying businesses, for whatever it is you want to do. And get around people that think what you think is hard is easy. I mean, if you're going to play tennis, you want to play somebody better than you or worse than you, right? Yeah. So get around people.
And you start to build the muscle too.
Sure,
like a lot of us don't realize that, not just fitness wise, but we don't realize that getting around doing real estate deals or doing business transactions or serving clients, those are all muscles. Because the first time around, you're like, oh my God. And then you start going.
It's scary. It's scary. Yeah. So what is fear? Fuck everything and run. That's what most people think it is. I know it's false evidence appearing real, because that's truly what it is. People fear the emotion of fear, not the actual thing they're fearful of. And I like to think the successful people believe it's face everything and rise. Yeah. And we successful entrepreneurs call it stress. Okay, but it's fear. Okay, and whenever I have fear pop up, I do one of two things. One is I take massive action. Okay, even if it's 2:00 at night, if I have something pop up, I will get up, take some notes, and then I can relax and go back to sleep. Yeah. But massive action. The other one is gratitude. Yeah. So let's talk about gratitude for a second.
I love gratitude.
Okay, gratitude is the most powerful emotion we have available to us. Okay, it strengthens our immune system. It lowers our blood pressure. It brings us closer to our spirituality, and it's how you manifest everything you want in life.
Yes.
Most mornings I'll just do gratitude for the beautiful things in my life, the people I love, my coaching students, my foundation, and then I'll do gratitude for the things that I want as if I already have them.
Yes.
And sometimes I've gotten emotional being grateful for things I don't even have yet. And I know I lost some of you analytical ones on that, but this is how I had $50 million to lose and how I got it back. So ignore it at your freaking peril, because it freaking works. And you could call it prayer, okay, but it's incredibly powerful, and it's how I've manifested everything I've wanted in my life, from my wife to stuff to I've gone through all the stupid stuff, the Lamborghini and the Rolls Royce and the Bentley and the watches and all this other stupid shit I thought was important, but that's how you get it. That's how you manifest it. I'd like to share another story, Jordan.
Sure.
So when I was 18, we were in Denver, but I knew I wanted to live on the beach. I mean, my dad worked for Continental Airlines, so I could fly to Hawaii, be on the beach. Literally, we were able to fly to Hawaii for $35 round trip.
Oh, wow.
Camp on the beach. True story. I was able to fly on TWA, Trans World Airlines, around the world to 8 places for $88. So I would save up my newspaper money. We'd go to, and my mom would make me pay for at least that piece of it. And then we'd go to Paris, Athens, Tel Aviv, Frankfurt, Rome, and Amsterdam. And so that was beautiful. But I knew I wanted to live on the beach. And there's no beach in Denver. I mean, it's landlocked. But anyway, But I would visualize it. And 20 years later, I built this incredible mansion on the beach, a 10,000 square foot mansion. I owned the beach on one side. I had my boats on the back side. It's literally right across the bay from where we are now. Yeah, I lost it in all the craziness. And God's got a sense of humor. So I get to see it every day when I go out in the backyard. True story. But anyway, this house was magnificent, okay? I mean, giant waterfall from the second floor balcony into the pool. You had to walk through the waterfall to get the pool. Pools and magazines. Big spiral staircase up through the middle of the house and wine cellar, elevator. I'll land the plane with this. On the second floor, I had aquariums built around the staircase. Cost me almost $200,000. So this gives you an idea of the house. Well, I worked for this thing for 20 years. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. 2 months after I moved in. 2 months,
Yeah.
20 years, 2 months. I'm floating in the pool at night. It's changing colors. It's got fiber optic lighting. And I'm looking, my family's inside sleeping. And I had all the toys, the Maserati, the
Yeah.
Mercedes, the boats, the jet skis. I had everything. And I look up at this, my family's inside sleeping. I look up at this house, this testament to my ego, which is really what it was, to prove to the world I was good enough. If that didn't freaking do it, give it
Yeah.
up, forget it. I mean, I achieved success like times
Yeah.
10,000, and I got depressed. And I don't mean a little depressed. I mean, I was like, holy shit, depressed. And I was like, what's going on here? Like I said, I've just achieved massive success. Here's what's going on. It's a couple messages I want to share with your audience. Number one is, it's never about the goals.
Yeah.
Happiness comes from progress and growth.
Yes.
Okay. And if you do my goal setting workshop at the Rod's Links, at the end of it, I do a weekly planning process, how I manage 2 large companies at the same time. And it's about 15 minutes, but it's really powerful, really powerful. And one of the pieces of that is to acknowledge anything you got done the previous week consciously.
Yes.
Pat yourself on the back, even if it was just a little thing, because happiness doesn't come from the goals. They say the happiest days of a boat owner's life, the day they buy the boat and the day they sell the boat, right?
Yes.
Happiness comes from progress and growth,
Yes.
but you got to acknowledge it consciously. So that was the first thing. Second thing is you should never achieve a big goal without having other goals lined up behind
Yes.
it as well. Like the good book says, without a vision, the people perish.
Yes.
I didn't know what I was going to do next. I didn't have a vision for the future. But the big thing, Jordan, was I was totally focused on me. Rod. Show the world I matter. Show the world I'm good enough.
Yeah.
And that's the year I met Tony Robbins. That's the year I went and saw him in Fort Lauderdale, and I found out that he fed families for the holidays.
Yes.
And I'm like, what a concept. Do something for someone else. I'm embarrassed to say I had to be 40 to get that memo. But I called my brother in Denver, and I was visiting him for Thanksgiving, and I said, "Bro, let's feed 5 families." And he's like, and he went with me to the boot camp. I mean, to the Tony thing, and so he was all over it. So he called his church, found 5 families that really needed help, and we bought food and toys for the kids if we knew they had them, frozen turkeys.
Yeah.
And third family changed my life. We go up to this shack, and it was a freaking shack. It wasn't even a 1-bedroom.
Yeah.
And there was a Hispanic woman in there with 5 kids, and she comes out, she sees all this stuff on the porch, and she starts crying. Two of the older kids that came out started crying. I started crying, and I was hooked. And please don't leave on this, because it's not my ego and what I'm going to share here. There's a real message. If you want success, stay tuned here, okay? In the last 25, 26 years, I've fed over 150,000 children here in my area.
Wow.
Yeah, for the holidays, 150,000. I've done tens of thousands of backpacks filled with school supplies to local kids here. We did 2,000 just a few months ago. Don't get me started, greatest country on earth, and you can't even get school supplies. And then I've done thousands and thousands of teddy bears to local police departments for their officers to keep in their vehicle if they encounter a child that's been in a traumatic situation. And, Tony Robbins calls it the science of achievement versus the art of fulfillment.
Yes.
Okay, so achievement's a science. If you want to learn multifamily or commercial real estate, get your ass to my boot camp. Okay, it's $47 freaking, and I don't sell anything, so no excuses. Okay, but fulfillment is an art.
Yeah.
Figure out what juices you. Okay, for me it's kids.
Yeah.
Maybe for you it's the elderly. That is for me as well. I just bought my first senior living facility. So maybe it's animals, the environment, whatever it is, give back right now. And don't say, well, you had money, that's why you gave back. You want the money? Give back, because you'll get the money faster. That's how God works.
Yes.
It's just how the universe works. It comes back 100-fold. You agree with me?
100%.
Yeah, and so achievement's a science. I'll give you the blueprint and the map. If you want to learn what I do, you just got to go do it. But fulfillment's an art. And I've had people sitting in my studio, that have thousands and thousands of units, and I can tell if they're like I was before I had my epiphany back when I was 40. And I feel sad for them because they're truly not fulfilled. They're not truly successful in my view.
No, I completely agree. And you're bringing up a lot of stuff because with Edwards Consulting, there's 5 pillars. Mm-hmm. So the first pillar is there's mental health, physical health, community service, philanthropy, spirituality, and relationships. So I ask each of my guests, where are you on this today on a 1 to 10?
Mental
on 11,
health.
11?
Mental health. Well,
mental
I've slowed down on my Valium intake. No, I'm just kidding. No, I mean, listen, mental health ties right into physical health.
Of course.
You saw my exercise facility.
Yeah, it's sick.
Okay, thank you. And I exercise every day. I don't run anymore. I tore my meniscus in my knee, so I have this gay elliptical bicycle that I ride around the neighborhood to the amusement of my neighbors. It's hilarious. I've got one here, and I've got one at my home in Miami. It's the most. I lose my masculinity the minute I get on it, but it's an incredible cardio workout. I work out every day.
Too.
Yeah, so I'm in incredible shape for my age, and so there's the mental and the physical because they tie together.
But on like 1 to 10, what do you think you're at mentally? Like, what do you think? If you had to pick a number,
8.
And what do you think you're doing to help you with that? Is it the gratitude?
It's the exercise. It's the gratitude. It's the relationships. It's my supplementation. I mean, I take peptides and more vitamins than you could possibly imagine. It's all of those things. It's doing what I love. Yeah. Okay. I have my ups and downs. I mean, and I'm in an up right now. Even though I'm single, I'm still in an up. My ex-wife's my best friend. She's in my guest house right now. She's visiting. But no, I'm an 8. Physically, I feel like I'm a 7 or 8. I have problems because of my age. I went and got stem cell shots in my knees in Tijuana.
How was that?
Awesome.
I've heard about this experience.
I'm actually going to interview it's the institute that Joe Rogan talks about on his podcast, and I'm going to interview the owner of this one in Tijuana that he went to. In Vegas.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm going to interview him because I'm such a proponent for platelet-rich plasma and stem cells. I mean, listen, if you have a wrist issue, a elbow issue, a shoulder issue, a neck issue, a back issue, or a knee issue, for God's sakes, don't get surgery. Go get stem cells or platelet-rich plasma. Yeah. I can't tell you how effective it is. It's extraordinary.
Really?
Yeah, extraordinary.
I've heard that. Literally, I've heard very,
very
good
so physically, things. I'm great. What's the next one?
Then it's community service and philanthropy, which
I think I nailed that one. Yeah.
Which is what we just talked about.
I don't know anybody in this town that does more than me.
But I think the interesting thing about community service and philanthropy, and this might help people, is what, like you said for your brother. You said you and your brother decided to do 5 families, like that first time.
Oh, I didn't elaborate.
What did you guys do?
Every year I doubled it.
Oh, really?
Well, no, so the next year I did 50. Next year I did 100, 200, 400, 800. 1,600 was 2007 or 8.
Yeah.
I paid for it myself. It was like $55,000.
Oh, wow.
And then I lost everything. I started taking donations. And at Rod's links, you'll see a link to my foundation. Every dime goes to food or backpacks or teddy bears. There's no overhead. In fact, I cover most of the overhead as well. In fact, I'm sorry, I cover all the overhead. I cover every dime of the overhead.
But for you, when you thought about that 5 and you reached out to your brother and you said, let's do this, and he looked for the families, because I feel like it's the people go, I don't know what he's talking about. I don't know how to do this.
He went to his church. He went to his church and said, who needs help?
He went to the church,
asked for who needs help. We found 5 families.
You guys just went to the food store,
we just went to the grocery store. We had a lot of fun buying the stuff. Now we've put it into a system.
Course,
I literally, when I do 3,500 kids,
that's the difference.
Which was the last time. We have two rows of where we've stocked of food and things, and then we have people carry a basket. We have hundreds of volunteers. They carry a basket. They go online. Everything goes in a basket. Gets wrapped up like a Christmas present on tables, decorating tables. I mean, I've got it down to a freaking science. We can feed 3,500 kids in about an hour and a half to 2 hours. I'm not exaggerating.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we've got it down to a freaking science.
But the point here is for the audience to realize is that it starts with 1.
That's it.
With 0.
And even if you don't have the money, don't say I don't have the money. Give of your freaking time, because the money will come. That's the way it works.
Yes.
Power moves to those who serve.
Yes.
I did a presentation for some of my warriors at my boot camp in Orlando. We had 1,000 participants, and we gave them a Hall of Fame award. And it wasn't the ones that had the most doors or anything like that. It was just the ones that I felt like gave back to the warrior community, helped other warriors, things like that. And we did a PowerPoint slide for each one of them. And I started to notice a pattern. Every single one of them did something philanthropic. Veterans suicide, veterans homelessness, build schools in India, build schools in Latin America, you name it. And I looked at the 1,000 people in the crowd and I pointed and I said, that's what we call a freaking clue. Okay?
Yeah.
Power moves to those who serve.
Yes.
So if you're listening, you want to be successful faster, give back. Okay? Don't do it for that reason, but I'm just going to tell you, that is a key piece. Whether it's education, whether it's your time, whether it's your money, whatever it is, you give back right now.
Yeah.
That's how it works.
And we don't realize, most of us in America have no clue how abundant we are.
Right.
Like, you open up the closet, there's 200 shirts. Like, you wear 5 of them.
Exactly.
We don't realize
I
how
actually
much
have about 400 shirts. So my housekeeper's like, you got to get rid of some of these clothes.
But my point here is that we all have something to give. We all have too many things. We all have too much stuff, especially around this holiday season.
Right.
So the other pillars are relationship. How do you think about relationships, and how do you maintain them? Because I know that's a challenge.
That's a challenging one for me because I was with my ex for 13 years. She's the love of my life, and we split up 3 years ago, but we're best friends. It's just no longer romantic. But I'm looking for love again. So on an intimate side, I'm on the hunt for love. Okay, I think I may have met somebody. We'll see. But I've got great relationships with a handful of people. One of them is my brother, two brothers, and then a cousin, and then a best friend from third grade. So I've got some really valuable relationships and friendships. Could I have more? Yes. And should I have more? I mean, I've got over 2,000 students.
But is the important thing, because I think you're bringing up a really important thing, is to realize the depth of the relationships. And I've talked about it with with my mentor, how you can really only have so many emotional friendships. There's really only
interesting.
Yeah,
what an interesting way to put it. Yeah, I mean, those ones I just mentioned are all very deep relationships.
That's what I'm saying.
My brothers, my cousin, and my best friend. I mean, they're as deep as it gets. Again, I've got 2,000 students, and most of which love me, and I don't say that lightly, and that's not ego. They do, and I love them, and scores and scores of millionaires. I've got a wall down in my other building in my compound with hundreds and hundreds of thank you cards from students on the wall. I
love that.
Yeah. And
because I just want to note this. This is really good for the audience, because one of the things that I do, and it's similar to Rod, I'm not sure if we're all getting thank you cards like Rod is, but some of the things people get are nice text messages. So you could literally screenshot these text messages, these Instagrams, and have a motivation folder to reference back. I have
a folder in my email of kind words.
Yes.
And I get love every day. Every single day I get DMs, emails, gifts, or cards every single day. Now I get hate every freaking day too. No one should own 800 houses.
Yes.
I'm like, okay, well, no one should live in their mom's basement either. But But anyway, so
the keyboard warrior.
Yeah, exactly. But I get love every single day. It's my greatest blessing. So I do what I do. I'm also actually my coaching program's not quite breaking even. I don't. It's not about the money for me. I actually feed it a little bit. Yeah. I need to raise my rates, honestly. But the point is, I love it, which is why I do it.
Yeah.
And so, and I'm actively acquiring. I just bought an assisted living facility. I own thousands of apartment units, and
of course,
when you love what you do, work is play, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And then the final pillar is spirituality. So some people relate this to religion. Some people relate this to just being connected to oneness. What do you think?
No. So that's an interesting question, because I didn't really. I have very strong feelings around that. I didn't really believe in God for a long time. I do now, and I thank God every day. I get my cold plunge, and I'm thank you God. And what's interesting, I got interviewed on Ryan Panetta's podcast. Yes. He's in Vegas. I'm going to go see him again here in 30 days, and we actually prayed on the podcast, which was very awkward for me initially because I've never done that. But he's the real deal.
Yeah.
My ex-partner. Flaky guy, had some problems with, and he hid behind religion, and I hate that. I hate that hypocrisy. But Ryan's the real deal, and so that was, and he recommended a book, and he recommended a book called The Case for Christ.
Okay.
And I bought it. It's next to my bed, and it's about this investigative reporter that didn't believe in Jesus and God, and then investigated, and now of course is religious. And so, I kind of read it a little bit at a time, but listen, I believe we're all connected. That's how I feel spiritually. I believe we're all connected. I got a lot of impact from a book by a guy named Neil Diamond Walsh called Conversations with God.
Okay.
How he supposedly spoke with God. I felt good about what I read in that book. How heaven and earth, hell are really right here on earth, on how you live your life. And so that really had an impact on me. But listen, the only thing I don't like about organized religion is if people try to push it on you.
Yeah.
I think everybody should have their own belief system, as long as you don't get zealots that try to push it on you. I think whatever makes you feel better about your life and about how you treat other people.
Yeah.
I try to treat other people well, and so if there is a God, I think hopefully I'll end up in the right place. But
Well, I love the fact that you said if you have interest in something, you dive deeper.
Yeah.
A lot of people are just like, I don't know about religion.
Yeah, well,
and it's like, if you have an interest in something, read some books. There's a lot of knowledge out there.
Exactly. And there's a lot of things in Buddhist philosophy that resonate. A lot of things that don't.
I think the world's kind of going in that direction where it's more of, hey, we don't like fitting in categories.
Yeah.
Like
Well,
there's a lot more to all of us.
I think anything, if it's not shoved down your throat, is good. And there's a lot of hypocrisy in organized religion. People that treat people like shit and then supposedly go to church. I mean, come on, that just doesn't.
No,
work
I mean
for
it's
me.
the alignment of the values and how we want to
Right.
live and how we want to do. And
Exactly.
absolutely, Rod, you're incredible. Where
thanks,
can
brother.
people learn more about you? Learn more about what you do?
Yeah, so Rod's Links is the best place. That's got my boot camp site. It's got my podcast. Check out my podcast. I mean, I'm doing something right. It's the largest out there. It's called Lifetime Cash Flow Through Real Estate Investing. But if you go to Rod's Links or text links to 72345, my podcast link is there. There's a bunch of free books there, best-in-class books. Not crap. These are best-in-class books about real estate. Sorry, I got something in my throat. And so, yeah, Rod's Links and my goal-setting workshop is there. My social media is there. And I answer pretty much every question on social media if you have a question. But, yeah, Rod's Links is the place. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate the time.
I enjoyed it, brother. Thank you.